Xbox is doubling down, and fans aren't sure how to feel about it. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we talk Xbox stuff, the latest news, rumors, pretty much anything I want to talk about, as long as it's about Xbox in some way. And today we're going to get into a few things, starting with Xbox's decision to expand Xbox Cloud Gaming to other Amazon Fire TV devices. Well, hold up, Ray, didn't they already do that? Well, yes, but back in July, when they first rolled out the Amazon Fire Stick Xbox partnership, it was only available on the Fire TV Stick 4K Max and the Fire TV Stick 4K. Now they're rolling it out to two more devices, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st Gen and the Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Hopefully that clears up any confusion. I saw some people in the comments of the video I did about it a couple of weeks back saying, wait a minute, I tried to download the Xbox app on my Fire Stick and I wasn't able to. So just to be clear, if you have a Fire Stick and it's not one of these four, it's not gonna work. Now this is a move that has a lot of fans split. I see some people are excited about it, especially in the replies on this on Twitter, but there are other people who have been highly critical of this move from Xbox, saying that it's basically devaluing their Xbox hardware. They're giving people excuses not to buy Xbox consoles because they're putting Xbox games not only on their rivals' platform, but on things that aren't even video game consoles. How dare they? I personally think that's a bit dramatic. We know that Xbox hardware sales, they're slumping, but to point to the Amazon Fire Stick stuff and say that's the sole reason that's happening, it's just not accurate. I'm not saying that Xbox isn't doing a combination of things that are leading to that hardware slump, no, but I don't think that this Xbox-Amazon partnership is a serious threat that is preventing people or making people think twice about buying an Xbox console. Mainly because I just don't think that the tech is there yet. The short version of the video that I did on it, I found that when I first tried it out, the controller input lag was atrocious. But when I went back to it, tried it again, I found that it was much improved, and since then I've gone on to use it surprisingly a couple of more times. And just like regular cloud gaming sessions on other devices, it has its ups and it has its downs. I find that even as a guy who owns multiple Xboxes, a PC, multiple ways to use remote play or cloud gaming, whether it's on my phone, my laptop, whatever, I still find that it has its uses and its advantages even in my personal gaming lifestyle. The big advantage being that, well, it's on my TV, which I believe is where the Xbox experience is the strongest versus using cloud gaming on my phone or a tablet. A couple of weeks back, my air conditioning was out, and as some of you know, this room that I film in is upstairs. This whole room, this whole level of my condo was just unbearable. The only place during that time that was relatively okay was downstairs, directly sitting in front of a fan. And rather than bring down one of my consoles and hook it up to my TV that's above our mantle, I just used the Xbox app on my Amazon Fire Stick that's already hooked up, and I used it to play Neon White. I was a little skeptical at first because I know that Neon White is a game where you kind of have to be precise with your movements and your shots because the whole shtick is clearing the level as fast as you can. And surprisingly, it was a very smooth experience. A couple of days later, I was playing Mafia because my wife was using this space to film with her friend, and it was a little glitchy, a little laggy. So yeah, it definitely has its ups and downs. I will clarify that the Amazon Fire Stick that I have downstairs is operating on a wireless connection that will 100% affect the stability and the consistency of your stream, especially compared to when you're cloud gaming on a direct Ethernet connection. I've definitely examined that too. It's not at the place where it will replace an Xbox console experience, even on the lower end with the Series S. But if you're like me and you already have a Game Pass Ultimate subscription, getting one of these Fire Sticks or this 3rd generation Cube, or even using the Xbox app on the Samsung Gaming Hub, I do find that there's utility in that. And whether you like it or not, it's looking like Xbox is gonna move forward with this initiative. It started with those Samsung TVs, now it's on Amazon Fire Sticks, now it's on more Amazon devices. I can only imagine that signals that this partnership is going well and they're going to continue to expand it. But Microsoft and Xbox, they're not the only ones that are doubling down on things. Apparently Square Enix, who struck a very high profile deal with Xbox just a couple of months ago, plans to double down on Xbox releases, according to a producer on Final Fantasy XIV. Naoki Yoshida said that the recent release of Final Fantasy XIV was met with a really strong response and is just the starting point for more Square Enix games to launch on the platform. With Final Fantasy XIV's release on Xbox, Phil Spencer spent a lot of his time and a lot of effort and put in a lot of work into making it a reality. So we would like to make the best of that and further and deepen the relationship with Xbox gamers moving forward. That's pretty big news, considering that historically, a lot of Square Enix published games tend to skip over the Xbox platform. And when they announced this new partnership that they were going to bring Final Fantasy XIV over to Xbox consoles finally, it was met with a lot of skepticism. A lot of people being like, well, we'll see how this works out, see if it's really even going to be worth it for Square, because y'all know those Xbox gamers, they don't buy JRPGs or Final Fantasy games. And yeah, sure, a lot of it has to do with Phil Spencer putting in that work, making sure that relationship is all good, giving them incentives to put their games on the platform. But also, coincidentally, it seems that Square Enix is just generally interested in multi-platform releases for their games, following poor sales on some of their key titles. Now, the statement from Square saying that they're having a strong showing of Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox, that contradicts a lot of people's assumptions that this game was flopping on the platform. I don't know how many people downloaded Final Fantasy XIV on the Xbox platform, or how many people bought the DLC, whatever the newest one is. I couldn't find the exact numbers, but I could find that at one point after the Xbox version released and this new DLC release, it set a new record for peak concurrent player count. Still no word on whether or not Final Fantasy XVI is going to be making its way anytime soon to Xbox. I imagine that's going to be a pretty tough one. That game, graphically, performance-wise, is pretty intense. And if other high-octane games are struggling to pass that certification process from Xbox, I imagine that Final Fantasy XVI will be in that same boat. We've heard rumors pretty recently, though, that Final Fantasy XVI, it's an inevitability. It's gonna happen. We just don't know when. And if you're one of those people who are like, Xbox gamers, they don't buy Final Fantasy games, what's even the point? Just shut up. Just shut up. I mean, that's all I can really say at this point. You may not want to buy the Xbox version of a Final Fantasy game, but maybe other people would. And if you're one of those people, well, this is really great news to hear. While we're talking about waiting for games to come to Xbox, let's talk about Towerborn for a sec. If you don't know, Towerborn is the upcoming co-op fighter game being worked on by Stoic, the makers of the Banner Saga. For those of you who watched my video about Gamescom LA, I got to play this game early and ended up being one of my favorite games of the day. The team was really cool, and I'll only have to wait a couple of weeks to jump into the early access of this game on September 10th. But that early access period is only going to be on Steam. The Xbox game preview of this game is not going to be out until early 2025, which is a little bit confusing. But Jesse Norris over at Xbox Era wrote up an interesting article to shed some light on why that is. Why is this game that's being hyped up as this Xbox first-party exclusive launching on Steam before Xbox? Well, Jesse apparently talked to the CEO of Stoic, and he apparently got two big reasons. Number one is that they know the Steam early access system way better than they do the Xbox one. They don't need to get the game certified in order to push out new builds for the game. They can just continually push whatever they want at whatever pace they want. Number two is that they want couch co-op to be ready for whenever they do the early access on consoles or the game preview stage. And apparently it's been kind of tough to get that working in the way that they envisioned. Now, if any of this sounds familiar, well, it's because the Xbox certification process kind of has been popping up a lot in the news lately, especially in regards to Black Myth Wukong not being on Xbox. We just talked about this in my last video, but because of a memory leak issue going on with the Xbox version of Black Myth Wukong, it can't pass certification and therefore cannot be on Xbox. Which is fair, because if a game can't pass certification and it's having memory leak issues and it's causing the game to crash, well, that's not a game that you want to sell on your platform. I find it hard to believe that Towerborn would be in a similar position based on the build that I saw at Gamescom. So what worries me is that the feature that is tripping all of this up is the feature that I'm most excited for, the couch co-op. We know that couch co-op, local co-op has been difficult to achieve for games, if not outright impossible in the past, especially for the Series S. And it's gonna be a real shame if they can't get it figured out for Towerborn, because again, when they told me that this was gonna have couch co-op, I didn't even know that going in. I lit up. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. I already know the 3 friends that I'm gonna have over sitting on this couch right now, playing on that TV, maybe playing on all of these screens. You just don't see games supporting that local co-op, couch co-op, split screen. Hopefully they can get that figured out. Maybe they'll learn some lessons from this early access period on Steam coming up, because that's definitely one of the biggest draws of this game for me. I like the other aspects, the combat, the boss fights, the animation, the style, all that. But what's really gonna set this game apart is the multiplayer, both online and local. In other other news, if you are looking for a new Xbox controller, Razer just revealed one that you may be interested in. They just released the press release for the Wolverine V3 Pro, and it seems to be packing a number of features that people seem to be really into lately, like Hall effect sensors and the thumbsticks. This is something that we've talked about on the channel before, but Razer explains it a lot better than I would, or at least a lot more marketable, I guess. These advanced analog sticks boast superior accuracy and smoother movement compared to traditional models. Anti-friction rings and pro-grade materials ensure long-lasting durability, while customizable sensitivity and dead zone settings through the Razer controller app allow for more precise, personalized control, making them ideal for any intense gaming sessions. I don't have too much experience with Hall effect thumbsticks, so I can't speak to any of this jargon about, oh, they make me more accurate, they give me ultra instinct when I'm playing shooters. But the main draw that pretty much everyone can agree on is that Hall effect sensor sticks will last longer than traditional ones because there's no friction. They have 4 buttons on the back like you would see on an Xbox Elite Series 2, and it's also wireless, which we know that not a lot of third-party Xbox controllers can do. Will set you back though, it's $200, but if you're looking for something cheaper that is pretty much the exact same thing, Razer's also taking pre-orders for the Wolverine V3 Tournament Edition, almost the exact same thing except it's not wireless, and it doesn't have its own fancy little carrying case. Now, on paper, this seems to give you all the same features you would get with an Elite Series 2 like this, without one of the major drawbacks, which is apparently stick drift. I say apparently because I've never had an issue with drift on any of my controllers, Elite or not, but I'm always seeing people online saying like, oh, Xbox controllers, they're always getting drift, the build quality on the Elite Series 2 is doo-doo. I've only had one issue with my Elite Series 2. At one point, one of the bumpers was just kind of being weird. I sent it in and they fixed it. That was a little over a year ago, and I haven't had any trouble since. But if you're looking for an alternative to that controller and you're willing to spend a little bit more, the Wolverine V3 may be for you, maybe not. If you want to try out Hall effect sensors, you've never tried them, there are a couple of cheaper options out there. They're not nearly as fancy as what Razer's trying to offer, but they're out there. I've talked about this before on the channel, the 8-bit DOE Ultimate C wired controller for Xbox. This is pretty much a basic Xbox 8-bit DOE style controller. It doesn't have any back buttons on it. You can change the configuration through the app, sure, and on the controller, but the big draws to this controller is the lights around the thumbsticks, and the thumbsticks themselves, they have those Hall effect sensors we were just discussing. I use this on and off. So far, it's been pretty smooth, except for one time when, for some reason, like I think the sensors and the sticks weren't communicating properly when I was playing Fallout 3. I was stuck in like a permanent walk. I couldn't run. And as soon as I switched to another controller with standard thumbsticks, the problem went away immediately. So I don't know what happened with that, but I don't want to judge it too harshly based on that one experience because I've used it for other games and it's worked just fine. And I'm a simple man. I see these fancy lights around the thumbsticks and I'm like, oh, that's cool. You also won't have to really break the bank for it. It's $35. It is only wired too. You can't use it wirelessly. So if that's a deal breaker, probably not the controller for you, but if you wanted a low stakes way in order to experience Hall effect sensors in your thumbsticks, this is the way to go, I feel. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me get to 200,000. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.